I don't see the resemblance. Hello Tube Dwellers and welcome. I'm the Arcadean and this is Mabinogi Duel. So, devCAT released a patch this week that, amongst other things, changed up 6 of the cards in the game. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to look at these cards, look at the changes, and see how they affect them in the current meta. As always, everything I'm about to say is my own opinion. I could be completely wrong, so don't take it as gospel if I say that a card is really bad or a card is really good. Don't just immediately, discard it or throw it into every single one of your decks. This is complete opinion. And if you disagree with me, comment below in the doobly-doo. I'd be very interested to hear of anything I hadn't thought of regarding these cards. So, first of all, we shall start out with Dragon Hunter Frey, because she recently got a special edition art, and I quite like it. So, her ability used to read that at the end that she would attack your opponent creature with the highest attack. At the end of the turn, attacks opponent creature with attack 6 or greater again. And she used to have 1 defense and 7 hit points at level 1. So, the new description of Frey reads that she will attack the enemy with the highest attack, same as before. At the end of the turn, deals 4, 6, 8, or 10 damage to an opponent creature with an attack 6 or greater. If damage is dealt with this effect, she also deals 1, 2, 2, or 3 to the opponent hero. She also got a big boost to her hit points, and her attack was kind of adjusted. So it's a little bit lower at level 1, but it's a little bit higher, I think, at level 4 now. So what do I think? I think this is actually a really, really positive change for Frey. She was always in kind of an awkward position. Archers are not really used very much in the meta, and they never have been, but I have seen Frey used to very good effect, and she has even appeared in a couple of top 10 decks. However, there was always a better option. I think with the boost to her HP, and particularly her ability to now directly damage opponents' heroes whilst at the same time damaging their creatures, I think that makes her into a much, much more interesting card. Now, I would really have preferred it if her attack was also damage ignoring, but we can't have everything. Nevertheless, I think keep an eye on Frey and try her out in a couple of your decks. I think we're going to see a little bit of a usage rise with her. Alright, next up we have Tiger. Now, Tiger's had a bit of a sideways promotion. His ability used to read, when summoned, -2 attack to the enemy in front and those on either sides of the target. Now, his ability reads, when summoned, -2, 2, 3, 3 attack to the creature in front. If attack is reduced by this effect, -3, 4, 5, or 6 attack to opponent creatures on both sides as well. So, the attack reduction of creatures on either side of your target is now higher than it used to be. However, Tiger now requires there to be a creature in front of him when he is summoned for the peripheral effect to actually happen. So you can't be tricksy about playing him in front of an empty slot and still have him affect these sideways targets on either side. His attack, his hit point value being 13 means that he is quite vulnerable. So my opinion on this card is that, as I said, it's kind of a sideways promotion. If you were using Tiger before now, I think you can probably still make him work. And if you want to make him work, I can see him still being quite viable. But if you had no interest in him before, this isn't going to sway you in his direction. Next up, we have the Water Ghost. So, Water Ghost used to, upon death, -4 attack to the creature in front. And it had 2 defense, 1 attack, 1 hit point. Now, while this creature is on the battlefield, -2, 2, 3, 3 attack to the creature in front, and increases grave cost by 1 at every level for this card and the creature in front when killed. It also got a boost of hit points, 3, 4, 6, and 7, sorry, and a boost to attack, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Now, what do I think? I think, honestly, this probably makes her a little bit worse. Her ability used to be fairly interesting in that you could throw her down in front of a fairly powerful creature at level 1 or 2, and when she died, that creature would then almost certainly be rendered redundant for the rest of the fight, thereby, you know, leaving a slot on your opponent's battlefield that he simply couldn't play any creature into. Quite useful. I know that although you almost never saw Water Ghost, the few people that did run her tended to run her to good effect. With this new one, the attack reduction only occurs while she's on the battlefield, and although she did get a hit point bonus, it's still nowhere near where it needs to be. She can still be removed at level 1 by any one cost, well, not any one cost removal card, but she can be removed by Magic Missile, for example, with no difficulties whatsoever. At which point, the creature in front of her grave cost increases by 1, but that's 1 extra resource. It's not really going to be a big deal for anybody, and it increases her own grave cost by 1, which means that it's much harder for you, or it's equally as hard for you to bring this creature back out again. So yeah, what do I think? I think actually kind of a nerf to Water Ghost, and I'm not really sure what the logic was behind it. Beyond the fact that devCAT does seem to be pushing these grave cost manipulation cards a lot more now than they used to. Still, I mean, give her a go. Maybe you have some ideas for it that I haven't thought of. If so, as I say, leave them in the doobly-doo below, and yeah, let me know. All right, next up we have Spray Blood. If it comes up, there we go. Okay, so Spray Blood was a weird card when it first came out. Its description read, decreases your hero's HP by 4 and deals damage to opponent's creature with the highest HP by twice that amount. If the targeted creature does not die when hit by the spell, it sprays on other opponent creatures and its damage is reduced by 7 each time. So obviously, nobody really used Spray Blood. You do not want to reduce your own hit point value, especially if all you're going to be doing is dealing a large amount of damage to an enemy creature. You can get significantly more damage from almost any removal spell in the game. So, the new description reads, decreases target allies' HP to 1 and deals the amount of decreased HP as damage to the nearest opponent. If the targeted creature does not die when hit by this spell, deals double damage to another creature. So, what do I think? I think it's definitely an improvement. Decreasing a target ally's HP down to 1 is significantly better than dropping your hero HP. However, I tried the card out in a number of decks, and honestly, I don't see any situation in which it's particularly useful. If you use it on a low HP creature, then the nearest opponent is going to take no damage, so what was the point? And then it'll deal double that damage to another random creature, but you can't select who, so half the time it would go into a creature that I either didn't care about, or was already being blocked, or wasn't going to be killed by it. Alternatively, you can play it onto a creature with a lot of HP, such as a vampire, in which case it will straight up kill whichever is the nearest creature to that vampire, but then its secondary effect of dealing the double damage won't activate, so that becomes rather redundant. About the only situation in which Spray Blood was of any use whatsoever was when reducing the HP on something like a Doom Machine, which has the ability to resummon itself, obviously, with the Soul Stone. But even then, if you're at the situation where you've got a Doom Machine out on the field, you really don't need to use Spray Blood. So, yeah, it's definitely a boost to the card, but it's still in a situation where I don't honestly see what use it would be over another removal card like Command Hunting. Okay, next up, we have, what is it, Choir Ensemble. This is quite a weird change, honestly. So, Choir Ensemble used to read, reduces the grave cost of a card with the highest grave cost in an opponent's hand or grave to 0, and restores all friendly creatures and heroes' HP by the amount of that reduction. Which was quite interesting. When it first came out, I think everybody's first thought was, oh, an anti-Feozenior card. And that's pretty much what it was used for. It was a very niche counter-pick card for, your counter deck up in the Platinum arena. However, its new ability reads, if the target opponent is a skeleton, a zombie, or a vampire, increases the grave cost by the number of creatures in your hand. So, what do I think? I think that is the weirdest change I have ever seen in any card. It now does something completely different to what it used to do, and I don't know why. Because I can't see any situation where you would have a lot of creatures in your hand, and you would want a skeleton, zombie, or vampire on your opponent's field to have its grave cost increased. Bearing in mind, this doesn't kill the opponent creature, literally just increases the grave cost, so that when eventually you do kill it, it's almost certainly not going to be respawned or resummoned back onto the field. But why? That's my question. If you have any idea what the reasoning behind this change was, do let me know, because I cannot conceive of any situation where I would want to use one of my 12 cards to simply increase the grave cost of something, and that's it. I don't get it. So let me know if you can. I really don't understand that change. All right, and finally, my favorite change, although not necessarily for an obvious reason, and we'll get into that in a second. So, Mad Technician Vernor, and for those of you who didn't understand the little bit at the beginning, when this card was first released, somebody asked if devCAT had actually modeled Vernor after myself. Which, thanks and screw you. So his ability used to read: when there are more than 2 zombie creatures on your battlefield at the end of the turn, destroys all friendly zombies and summons an altered zombie. Now this used to be a problem because an altered zombie counts as a zombie. So if you had an altered zombie and something else out into the field, the altered zombie that you just summoned would in fact be killed, and then another altered zombie would be resummoned. So Vernor was kind of pointless after summoning that first original zombie. You kind of wanted Vernor off the field. You didn't want him killing your altered zombie off. Now his ability reads: when there are more than 2 zombie creatures on your battlefield at the end of a turn, destroys all friendly creatures that are not altered zombies and summons an altered zombie, which is significantly better. So it means that the altered zombie will now always remain on the field, and you can continue to build up the altered zombies that are there. So much better. Nevertheless, if his if his ability worked in exactly the way that it was written down, then given his cost, given his hit points, and given his attack value, all this sort of thing, I would still say that whilst interesting, and whilst it could certainly be made into a fun, you could make a fun deck with this card, I would still personally advise not touching him, except his ability is actually incorrect. It's written down wrong. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a mistranslation issue or whether it's an actual bug. I'm really hoping it's the first one, because I love his ability. Where it says when there are more than 2 zombie creatures on your battlefield, it doesn't in fact mean zombie creatures. It means any creature, literally any 2 creatures. So you could have leopards, lady shares, goblin bomb squads, whatever you want out on the field. So long as there are 2 or more of them, Vernor's ability will actually activate. And this leads to some really fun possible combinations. So I thought for this video, since I've already rambled on long enough about all of the patches and whatnot, that what we would do now is we'll take Vernor and we will run an example fight with him in the PvP arena, just to show you what he can do and what he can snowball. So I threw this deck together this morning, and I ran it a couple of times. It's a lot of fun. It's not the best in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but no thank you. But it was a lot of fun to use, and I'm sure there are much better combinations and things out there that people can run, but this one works out just fine. So we start out with Black Sheep Pan, mana -1. Now I'm using Pan because it has the special ability that its grave cost will not activate when it goes to the grave, which is fantastic, because as you can see, it's a really nice cheap card, 1 and 2 mana, and it will never ever cost more than that, so it's perfect for a sacrifice for Vernor. Next up, we have the Book of Knowledge, because you want to activate Vernor at level 2. You can wait until level 3, but the deck's not really designed for that kind of longevity. So you get up to level 2 as quickly as possible and bring out your creatures. Next, Magic Missile, 1 cost removal card, yada yada, normal. Then Hidden Spider. Now Hidden Spider is here because sometimes you'll play a creature. The best way to do it is to play a creature when you're at level 2, and then drop Hidden Spider. The next turn, if your opponent used a spell to remove your first creature, Hidden Spider has come out, he's on the field, and then you simply play one other creature and Vernor. And then Vernor's ability activates at the end of the turn. So Hidden Spider can be really, really useful for guaranteeing that you get Vernor's combo off. Then we have Hyena King, standard 1-cost nature creature. You could use Elf if you want, since Heavy Offering is not really such a big thing anymore. Then we have the Black Sheep Pan normal version, same reason as the mana. We have Beautiful Prisoner Share, Dark +1, because again she costs 1 at every level, and if you can actually manage to get her to activate, then fantastic. You've got a really powerful card on the field. Next up we have Command Hunting, because it's quite easy with all these low-cost creatures to always ensure that you have one in the middle of the field, so Command Hunting. Then we have Zombie. Zombie's ability means that when Vernor's ability activates and kills the zombie will actually respawn itself. So you'll be losing the second creature, but you'll have an altered zombie and the original zombie out onto the field at the same time. Very handy. Similar sort of thing with the Skeleton Knight. Vernor's ability will activate and kill it, but then it'll resummon a skeleton out onto the field. So you're not actually, you'll still have Vernor, the altered zombie, and the skeleton out onto the field. Vernor himself, which we've already talked about, fantastic card with this new sort of sneaky little ability thing going on. And then Capture, simply because your opponent will try to bring out big heavy creatures, or will try to capture your own zombies or Vernor in order to use them for their own game. So Capture just allows you to sort of retake and avoid that kind of shenanigan. So as I say, this deck was thrown together really, really quickly. I'm sure there's way better combinations out there. Try them out for yourself, because there are just so many possibilities. That being said, let's jump into a fight and see how it goes, shall we? Mad Technician Lab Coat. Let's go. Okay, Chorus, PvP second Dan, so he's been climbing the mastery ranks. That's very cool. Using the neutral hero, Remiel. Alright, so he's got 1 mutant, mana, light, and darkness. He charges immediately into light, which is great for us because it means that we can freely use the Book of Knowledge, getting us up to level 2. He charges again, alright, into darkness. That's fine, we'll level up. And he plays... Tomb of the Solitary Man. How interesting. Some sort of Jurgen, Mino, Grim Reaper, maybe? Well, we'll play Share and Command Hunting. Oh, good to meet you too. Okay. Hello, and do you like cats? So now he can either kill Share and not level up, which is what he does, which was probably the best bet for him, but it was still a no-win situation. At this point, we can actually now just summon 2 creatures out onto the field without worrying about him removing either one of them, because he has to level up to 2 now. So we'll play Pan in the middle for future Command Hunting if it turns out to be necessary, and Zombie on the far left. He levels up, as he absolutely had to, which is great. We can now play Vernor onto the far right, and let's discard the Hidden Spider, just in case he comes out with any tricksiness, because I do want to have at least 1 creature out on the field at the beginning of my next turn, so that I can simply play a second one, and Vernor will activate again. Okay, so Prometheus comes out, which is great. That's my favorite altered zombie. There are 2, Prometheus, and I think the other one's called Epimetheus, but Prometheus is my favorite. And you can see him... this long pause, the gears whirring in his head. He goes, what just happened? Which is a completely legitimate reaction to have. He must be reading over the card going, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So he's been taken by surprise. Let's see how he will react to this. It throws a lot of people off the game. Vernor's ability suddenly activating like that. So he charges. He's thinking about it. He was not anticipating this. But he's a second Dan in PvP, so he should know... Oh, interesting. All right, so he's actually bringing out Orperi as a blocker. So I wonder if his mutant is a light Feathers of the Phoenix. Maybe he's hoping to bring that out later. Anyway, we'll level up. And we don't want to use nature because I want to save up for capture just in case. So instead we will play Pan. Doesn't really matter where he goes. The zombie actually gets a little bit of a shot off. Prometheus' ability does not activate, but he does get really low. He does get repair area within ability range. And the second altered zombie is summoned, which is great. So one of the reasons we're using Dark Resource is not just because of Zombie and Skeleton Knight, although Zombie is very useful for helping Prometheus to resurrect, but also because when... Oh, another one. So no light feathers. Yes, when Epimetheus dies, he needs to be able to discard darkness cards in order to resurrect. So yeah, as far as this goes, we're actually in a really solid position. We'll revive back into the hand just because we no longer need the hidden spider in there, and we quite like some of our cards back, frankly. But apart from that, we'll just charge up and see, because either way, Prometheus' ability is about to activate. Yeah, there he goes. And we summon a jumbled zombie, and Vernor hitting takes him down within fatal. So he levels up to 3, but it doesn't give him quite enough hit points, unfortunately. He's got to block, and he doesn't. He discards a mana card, not anticipating the fatal damage, I assume. So that's unfortunate for him. Good to meet you. I think that's his way of saying goodbye. We'll go with happy, I guess. We'll try that. I'm excited. Okay, well, that seems fine. And we will charge up. As you can see, against a second dan PvP, you know, even people that are up in the mastery ranks, they can be completely thrown off by Vernor's ability activating. So much fun. And that was Mad Technician Vernor. As you can see, a lot of fun to use, a lot of possible combinations, a lot of possible plays, and it tends to freak your opponent out because they do not expect the altered zombie to appear when you don't have any zombies on the field. And you can tell every time I've run this, there's always been like this 30-second pause after his ability activates where they're not doing anything, and you can almost hear the shouts and screams of rage in the distance. So give him a try for yourself. If you want to run this deck in your own game, then there's a share code once it appears. There we go. Haha. There's a share code up in the top right hand corner. So if you can come up with any other combinations, leave them in the description box below so that other people can try them out for themselves. And yeah, that's it from me. So, thank you for watching, and as always, a special thank you to everybody who subscribed so far. Until next time, have fun and good luck. Haha.